and welcome to my one-handed kitchen. Well, I think looking at all of this lot, it's quite obvious what I'm going to be making today. I am going to be making a stew. I'm going to be putting beef in mine, but you really don't have to. This can be a vegetarian option. This is really an exercise in showing you how I manage to do vegetables one-handed. I have got to tell you that the very first time I did a stew, I did not have this board that my husband made me. All he's done is drilled some holes and hammered through, cut off pieces of food grade skewers. These you can buy online. I find that they're really expensive for what they are. So if you can get one handmade, great. If you can manage to buy one, great. But this I use day in, day out. Okay, here we go. Now the first thing I'm going to cut up are onions. Now I tend to use a big knife for this. Okay, we're not going to cut all the way through the onion. Just leave it with a bit hanging. Same with the other side. Poke it down. Don't cut it all the way. Can you see? So now I've got two little flaps. One I can pull up like this, and one I can pull down like that. Now I'll turn it round so that hopefully you can see it on my other camera. I've now got a very clean piece here, and what I can do is literally grab that and pull it round. There we go. Other side, pull it and just keep going round. This one's going to play me up, isn't it? There we go. That's my onion peeled. There's nothing simpler than that. Okay, the next job. Here I have, I think they're called turnips in England, navette in France. So I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to take that off completely. That will go in my compost nicely. Just top and tail and put it to one side and work your way through doing the same thing, just top and tail, so you've got a nice flat edge there to stand it up. Carrots, easy again. Just top and tail and pop it to one side. Now I tend to prep everything like this first, because then I can start just peeling my way through, chopping my way through for this. I'm also using leeks. Same thing. Take the top off. Oh, if you cut all the way through it, that is. And then we're going to turn it round and take the bottom off. This is not a very nice leek, is it? But it's going in a stew. There we go. Right, turn it over, and I want this top layer off. So take my leek out, and that's ready to go as well. Okay, I'm going to crack on and top and tail the rest of my vegetables. What I need to do now is get everything peeled. Now the difference between a stew and a casserole is the casserole is cooked in the oven. You could do this if you want to. Stew is cooked on the stove top, or I tend to pressure cook mine, and I put it in my Ninja 9-in-1 because that just cooks beautifully. So I like to get onions out of the way first because they tend to make me cry. I've got two knives here. Do make sure you've got a sharp knife. Okay, onion on. Onion on. Then all we're going to do is line them up here because they're now very nice and flat. And then they're easy to slice. Now, bearing in mind, this is going to be in the pot for a very goodly amount of time. Go across like that, whack it in my pot, get them out of my way before I start crying here. Again, it doesn't matter how you do these. I've got big lumps, I've got small lumps. You can always give it a chop after. Bring that to one side and give it a bit of a chop down. There we go, because that's all going to cook down anyway. And my eyes are just starting to go in here. So let's get rid of those as quickly as possible. And make my nose run. And that's not a good look, is it? There we go. Okay, next leeks. And these are just really easy to do. So all you've got to do is cut those down there. I've left a little bit at the top there to hold it, and then just chop through. Oh, my eyes are still going from the onion here. Nothing simpler than doing a leek. There we are, all ready to go. So far it's looking a little bit bland. Okay, the next job, and this is where it gets interesting. I'll get rid of those. Peeling a navette or turnip. Now you can use any number of vegetables for your soup or stew. Did you see that? You just keep going round like that. Turn it over the other way and you can get the top. Now these types of peelers are perfect. I cannot use the other ones at all. So there we go, one peeled turnip. Carrot is practically the same. Carrots are actually very easy to do. You can just go top to bottom and there you go, sorted. You can buy this already peeled, but it's so expensive. You might as well just get your carrots and prep them because they're not hard to do. The first stew I made, I took 4 hours to peel the vegetables. And that's basically because I didn't have a board at that stage. I was so determined I was going to make my family a winter stew. 4 hours to do the vegetables. Now, it probably takes me about 20 minutes, which is a lot better. Okay, so I've prepped all of my vegetables here. Now I know someone's going to ask me, why have you got a tea towel down here? Well, the reason for that is my vegetables tend to roll away, but they don't if I put them on here. Okay, I'm going to start with my turnips to get these prepped. Now look at that. Now you would do potatoes if you were doing chips the same way as this. It's really, really easy. Once you've done a few of these, you know where you're at. Now I'm just going to cut these down into cubes. And again, I'm not using the spikes for this. I don't need to. It's lying nice and flat. So straight into my pot here. Here we go. Next ones. Just cut them into bits. I turn them round like this and then just cut in cubes. Nothing simpler than that. Okay, the carrots, I tend to cut these in half because they're easier to deal with. Now one end of them quite often is really fat, so I push it down onto there and then you can very easily, oh, alright, maybe not quite cut it in half, but there you go. Right, then you've got flat bits, and again, you can just cut these to whatever size you want. If you want them thinner than that, just put them on your board and cut through. Simples. There we go. And then they're done. So carrots are easy to do. It doesn't matter, I've done all small vegetables today. It doesn't matter if you've got a great big humongous vegetable like this. All I'm going to do is karate chop that a goodly bit off. There you go. Gone. Just turn it round a bit and keep going. There you go. That's the piece I want to use today. This is now really nice and flat, so I can just chop that brilliantly. So I'm going to take this top layer off because that's not very nice. Same thing, turn it round and chop. Here we go. Just chop it into bits. Get that out of my way because you can't very well see what I'm doing, can you, sometimes? Right, I'm only going to put some in, but the red cabbage is lovely, and I use this quite often for coleslaw. Gives it a bit of a pink colour, but it's absolutely delicious. It's so crispy and beautiful. So that's going in to my pot. You can use whatever vegetables you want. If you have a preference for parsnips and things like that, great, go for it. Because my family tend not to like things like that. What I also put in is fresh tomatoes, and I like these little tiny cherry tomatoes. Big tomatoes are easy to do, and you can see, you can just whack them on and cut them down. These are a bit more finicky. Now all I'm going to do is stick them on there, and then I can just pull them off. Just put them on one spike like this, and then you can pull it through, chopped. Okay, so you've now seen all of the veg, how I cut it. So I'm going to carry on and finish cutting my veg and putting it into my stew pot. Okay, I have all my beautiful vegetables ready to go. If you want to go with a vegetarian option, you can leave it at this. That's fine. Because we're going to put some other stuff in a minute, some seasonings and stuff. I'm making a beef stew. Now, I got this beautiful Limousin beef. I've heard a lot of people here in France saying that Limousin or French beef is really tough. I will argue with you on this one, I am sorry. I've been living here in France for 22 years in March. And I find Limousin beef, this bourguignon, is melt in the mouth beautiful. So I don't understand what people are saying about this. Right, I don't even take out the sinew or anything. I'm going to use every last bit of this beef. No waste at all. Now, you could, if you wanted to, leave the meat out completely. Maybe chuck some mushrooms in with this. I'm just showing you now how I cut my beef on my board as usual, and just cut little bits off as you go. I don't make them too small because I don't want them disappearing into my stew, but I don't want them so big that you just get one bit of meat and that's it. My husband calls these things station pie, station soup, because you get one bit of meat at every stop. So I'm very aware of that when I'm cutting my meat up. Okay, I'm going to continue with this and then I'll come back to show you the seasonings. Okay, so I've got my meat all chopped up in there now. While I was doing this, I thought to myself, I can hear people shrieking, "Ooh, she hasn't seared that meat. She hasn't done it. That's going to be nasty." Yes, quite often you sear meat and it seals the flavour in. In this, I don't want the flavour to stay in the beef per se. It will retain beef, but I'm going to pressure cook this anyway. But what I want is the flavour of the beef to go through everything. So I am not sealing this. You can seal yours if you want to. I don't do it for stew. Okay, so first thing I'm going to pop in is a really good shake of garlic. Garlic is really good for you if you've got blood issues, if you clot too fast, etc. Garlic is really good, so I tend to put that in a lot of stuff. Eschalot, because this is just absolutely gorgeous, a good shake of eschalot. Now in here I have Dijon mustard. Okay, so we've got those in. In this jug I have just vegetable stock. I did not make this myself. This is stock cubes. I use Cubor, but any vegetable stock will be great. Now I've used about 800 mils in there, and I will check to see how deep that is. And I think I'm probably going to put a bit more in than that. That's it. You only want to fill that, if you look down the side of your pot, about halfway up your veg and stuff. Because as this cooks, all your vegetables are going to release lots of fluid anyway. So do not overdo it. Oh, that's heavy now. Because I always put some tomatoes. This is just a really wonderful piece of kit. It's an electric tin opener, and all you've got to do is push that, and look at this, like magic. Now my son bought me this for Christmas, and I have got to tell you, I have used it and used it and used it and used it until you decide to stop it. Look at that. And what is even better is I can push down on these, because this, look at it, it's not sharp at all. I'm never going to cut myself on this. How brilliant is that? Thank you, Alfie. Right, just a small tin of tomatoes with the juice going in. Chomp those down a tad. And that's it. We are good to go. Now that is a big sort of stew, and that will do us a few days. I make suet-free dumplings for this, which I will show you. I'm now going to pop this in my 9-in-1, and I'm going to put it on pressure cook. I want my beef to be nice and tender, so I'm going to put this on pressure for an hour and a quarter. That's it, hour and a quarter, and then natural release it. If you don't have a pressure cooker, then you cook this on your stove top. What you want to do is bring it to a boil, cover it, turn the gas, electric, whatever, really down low, and simmer this for about 2 hours until your vegetables are just nicely cooked, and your meat, if you're using it, is nice and tender. I'll see you when this is cooked. Okay, here is my beautiful stew. And all I've done is thicken that just a tad. That's all I've done to it. And it is looking lush. We're just going to shut this down. The first thing I'm going to do, now my stew is nice and ready, is I'm going to make some dumplings. Normally dumplings are made with suet, but certainly if you have health issues, that is really not good for you. Especially if you've had a stroke or something. Not good at all. Clogs up your arteries, your kidneys, your heart, you name it, it'll do it. So, this is the way I make dumplings, and they are light as a feather. First of all, I have my flour and some baking powder. Into that, I'm going to put, it's just a little bit of butter. And we're going to just work that through with our fingers. No great fuss about it, just enough. So that you've got that evenly distributed throughout your flour. I'll show you in a moment how I leave it, and it's not too shabby at all. You can actually do this with one hand as well quite easily, so not an issue. Now this, the recipe that I'm going to put at the end, is enough to make 4 good sized dumplings. I mean, you can double this recipe, half the recipe, whatever you like. There we go. So it's just roughly mixed in. Now we're going to add some milk, and it's only a little bit, so it's not too much. I'm going to get started off with my spoon, give it a little bit of a stir. This is not dissimilar to a scone recipe, and you can make a beef cobbler or some sort of cobbler and put your mix on top of a casserole or whatever in the oven. This is very slightly different to that. Just make sure I've got it all off of there. This is slightly different, but oh, beautiful. You actually cook these in your stew normally. Now, Thursday we have stew. I would drop these into the stew, cover, and then simmer. And then once the dumplings are cooked, I would then thicken my stew. So the next time I come round to making my dumplings, this is the method I would use. So I have my ball dough. What I need to do now is bring a pan of, I've just got water and a vegetable stock cube in there. Bring it to the boil, and then divide your dough into 4 pieces, sort of fairly even sized if you can. I'm not very wonderful at this. Then just squeeze it, roll it, and make your little ball of dough. Plop it in. Next one. This is a bit smaller than the others, hold on. Right, again, just make a little round ball, plop it in. Now just make sure they've got a bit of space round each of them, because these are going to grow. Now I'm going to leave those covered for 20 minutes in total, maybe just a tad shy of that. Halfway through you may need to turn them if they're in your stew. Now you do exactly the same thing. Your stew will be boiling away. You plop those dumplings in, bung your lid on, and then after 10 minutes, if they're in your stew, you need to turn those over. Now you can use a skewer to make sure they're cooked, but in here, These will not take long at all. In fact, I'm turning my heat right down. You can see already these are starting to grow. I'll show you when we're nearly cooked. Okay, I think these are going to be more or less ready. Now you can just dig one of these in, and if they come out clean, they are done. So here are my lovely dumplings. All I need to do now is dish these up with my beautiful stew. Well, look at my beautiful soup. I am so pleased with this. And for all you non-believers of French beef, look, this, I'm going to put it on here, that's a bit dirty. Look at that, how it falls to bits. Don't you ever tell me that French beef is not tender. That is absolutely delightful. Let's have a look at our beautiful light dumplings. How light and fluffy are these? Let's have a taste of the dumpling. Just gonna cut it. I have to use my fork for this. They are absolutely beautiful. They are so light, fluffy. Honestly, I'm going to polish all of this off for my lunch. How simple is that? Few ingredients. This freezes beautifully. Well, I really hope you liked what you saw. I tried to show in this video how to go about peeling vegetables, chopping vegetables, and I really hope you found this useful. So, please like, share, subscribe to see me making more cost-effective, beautiful, tasty, homemade food. Thank you for watching.